the Public Works Committee to order, DPW, Parks, Rec, Railroad. First thing, we need a motion to approve the minutes of the prior committee meeting. Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, turn it over to Mr. Benway.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First thing I have is a resolution for agreements with the town of Thurman, Lake Luzerne, Hague, and Horicon for the snowmobile maintenance. It's an annual agreement we do every year. $1,000.
Motion made by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Any discussion? All those in favor? Signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Excuse me, if I may, one question. How do the snowmobilers feel about what we're doing for them? I know over the years they've been happy or they've had complaints.
So far, so good. I mean, it's based on, snowfall. So they had a mild winter. Depends on what the state gives them. I'm still waiting for that voucher to see how much money they get annually from registration. That's the grant and aid program through New York State Office of Parks and Recreation. Other than that, they've had a successful, couple of years.
And they're happy. Okay.
So far, they're not balking,
Good.
we need more money, less money.
I don't hear complaints
No.
from my
Okay.
people.
No.
Supervisor Merlino?
Yeah, I think most of the clubs are happy with this. This money here looks like a lot, but it mostly pays for their equipment that they borrow money from the bank for. I know in Lake Luzerne, our clubs already have the trails marked. Thank God we did it a couple of weeks ago before it got cold.
Yeah.
And so they're all ready to go. Just a little bit more snow. But the trails don't open until December 15th.
Very good. Thank you.
Once the close the big game season. Bikeway, so everyone knows, is all set up too, ready to go for them.
Okay.
Magic Force down. The second one I have is the Warren County agreement with Town of Bolton for support for Up Yonda, $20,000.
Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Signify by saying aye. Opposed? Carried.
Mr. Chairman, one more question going
Mr.
back. Tim mentioned the bikeway is all set. Did we do anything other than I got the report that you had cleaned off all the leaves and the bikers were very happy with it a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
But what do you do as far as preparation for the snowmobiles?
They do signage on several locations. We have what we call control gates that we put up, and once I talk to Mr. Hagos, until there's adequate snowfall, we open those gates and they're allowed to use. Once snowfall becomes inadequate, the purpose of the gates is to close them. It bases on a lot of it for Winter Carnival, that kind of thing, so they have all their signs that they put up. There's an excursion that goes up to Barnstormers, I believe is the name. We do some fencing there, so when you come off onto the bikeway, they know they got to go right, left. So it's quite involved with the South Warren Snowmobile Club.
Okay. Have we done anything to resolve the issue of the snowmobile treads digging up the hill below Magic Forest in the future?
Let me answer that. That's the determination Tim just said as far as we're concerned is when I open or close that trail. If there's not enough coverage on the bike path, I mean, we've done it last year a couple of times. I closed the trail right in the middle of winter, probably in January. We lacked the snow cover, so we ended up just closing the gates and saying they couldn't get onto the trail. So that's going to be our preventative sort of measure, is to just make sure that we watch how much snow cover is on those trails. And then if there's not enough, we'll end up closing the gates so they can't use them.
Do we put any signage there, or we just close the gates?
We close them. There's
signs
signage on the
website.
gate that it says, yeah, but it's closed. And
Signs being, gates are closed because there's not enough snow.
Yeah.
Riding on this trail will cause damage to the trail. Something like that. And I can imagine you go up to this gate and you say, oh, what the heck, it's closed. I'm just going to drive around it.
They can't.
They can't. The gates are locked.
Gates are locked, and there's boulders and
On
bollards, everything to protect us. And then it falls back on the snowmobile pros. We tell you to close them, and there's damage, they're liable. So they're
Okay.
pretty good cooperative with us.
Okay, well, I noticed they haven't, I mean, last year when I was on the trail with my bike, that you could see the
Well, we stopped that because what was doing, they were taking that sharp turn with a groomer. So now they go the opposite way and only drag one way, so there's no more of that grabbing and tearing up asphalt.
Okay.
So that was more of an issue than it was snowmobile. It was after the groomer itself.
All right, very good. Thank you.
Yep.
I think that's it on that list.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, and the next resolution I have is the transfer of a milk car in the town of Jomsberg. It's located next to the ticket sales booth up in North Creek itself. It was actually a car that we were going to dispose of at one time. It was donated by Upper Hudson Railroad to Warren County. We've never done anything with it. Saratoga North Creek never did anything with it. And the town has expressed interest in, instead of scrapping it, they would like to have it and rebuild it. My understanding, it's like one of the last remaining milk cars in New York that I know of. That's what they told us. Instead of scrapping it, they won.
Good. Okay.
We'd be very grateful for it.
I want to get on Andrea's good side. I'll make a
that
motion.
Wait.
Yeah.
Okay.
I better
Motion
second
made by
that.
Supervisor Lowe. Motion made by everybody. Seconded by Supervisor Carlino. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
I have, Kevin, can I ask about the
You can, yes, you can ask.
facility?
Absolutely fine.
We were wondering if the town would be allowed to store this car in the house. The town or the organizations involved in that would be fully responsible for moving the car there, but it would protect it and allow them to start the restoration of the car over the winter rather than waiting until spring.
Andrew, Supervisor Hogan, I guess my question would be is I'd asked, posed a question earlier, is how they're going to move it, and that they'd have to have insurance. I think there'd be a liability issue. Tim's actually looked at that car, and as he said, that car is not in the best of shape. I'm not sure I would even want anybody to lift that car. I'm not sure that if you were to lift that car, it'd be in one piece by the time you set it down.
Justin's been involved in the whole thing, so we do have somebody who kind of knows what he's looking at. He has a whole plan, so I'm not going to get into the details of the plan. Definitely moved over there, but if you guys have serious reservations, I'll take that back.
I would also add to it, would they be responsible for moving it out too,
Absolutely.
depending on what we...
Absolutely, it's just for the winter so that they can start the work on restoring it. They're a little worried about snow. It is in pretty rough shape, so they're a little worried about snow load and whatnot.
Since we're doing the transfer of the milk car, as part of the license agreement for them to keep it there, I think, and Mary, I'll let you answer this, we would need the insurance or whatever, the coverage to keep that car in there and whatever movement that they do with that car as well.
I don't think we would ask for insurance on the moving of the car because the county has nothing to do with that, but we would absolutely just need general liability insurance, which they probably already have.
Supervisor McGowan?
Will that general liability, if they do move it and our tracks become damaged, I mean, would that general liability cover that? I mean, that would be the only...
I mean, that would be a question for their insurance company, but I'm not sure. I don't know the answer to that.
Supervisor Merlino?
I have no problem with them moving it in there. It's a safe process, and I'm pretty sure Ms. Hogan is going to follow it up. Just let them put it in there and let them work on it. It'd be nice to have it out on display eventually.
Okay. Have I called the question? Okay, I thought so. Okay.
Good.
Anything further? Mr. Benway?
Not on that, no. Okay, for the referral and pending items, the Smart Growth Grant opportunity, we've looked, they told us if it wasn't out by October 26th, it would not be out, and it's not out, so I'm assuming that's not going to happen. And we've asked and asked and asked, we looked on the website, inquired several times, and they said if it didn't come out by the 26th, which it didn't, it wasn't going to happen this year.
Okay.
Extent of it.
And who was it you were talking to? Was it DEC?
DEC.
DC, yeah.
Okay.
The next item is just for information, the Up Yonder Trunk or Treat. We had a great night. It was 578 participants. I have included a small package of photos. A lot of people go way out there and take a lot of time and effort to do this. As you'll see in the photos, it was a great event. Kids love it. The second item I've included in your package is they do a holiday wreath. You can sign up. There's four opportunities. As of right now, signed up to date was 124 participants. It will happen November 23rd and 30th, and then Saturday 24th and the 1st of December. The cost is $15 per wreath, $10 if you're already a member. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Loeb.
Yes, thank the chairman. A question about the Up Yonder. They do a fantastic job up there. It's a good facility. But do we gather any data, or could we gather data to have concentric circles from Up Yonder to evaluate participation numbers? The 500 people, maybe they're all from Hope Landing.
Oh, sure.
Or are half of them from Glens Falls?
Yes, we do. Yes.
So, so I'd love to see those numbers, but off the
absolutely.
top of your head is, how much participation do we have from the southern part of the county?
Okay. I would say a third.
Well, that's very good.
Most of it right there is Bolton Landing, Hague, Warrensburg. It's the majority.
Okay.
But we have it broken down.
But significant from Luzerne, North Creek, Glens Falls, significant numbers.
We keep track of all that.
That would be
Any
good.
program.
I would like to see that.
Breakfast.
When you have it.
Sure.
That'd be
Absolutely.
fantastic. Thank you.
You do? That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Well, anything else from the committee before we move into DPW? Okay, let's turn it over to Mr. Ajos.
Bear with me, it's a fairly large package today, but most of them I think we can go through fairly quick. The first request resolution on page 3 is to rename Project H377. Last year when we put in for the pavement preservation project, we expected only to get one. DOT and the Feds came back and gave us 2. They gave us Sunnyside East as well as Sunnyside. So since the project that we had last year was just called pavement preservation, we're just changing the name of the first one, which is Sunnyside East, I believe, to name of the project is not a pavement preservation, it's just Sunnyside East.
And the next,
The next 2 after that are to authorize a new grant agreement with DOT, which is the project that we just received, as well as to increase the capital project for the funding shares for that project.
I think there's even more that are connected. They have 4.
And the last one is for a new contract, I believe it's Green and Peterson for the design services for that federal aid preservation project as well.
Would someone like to do all 4?
Move all
Or-
5, right? Is it 5 or 4?
There's
1, 2,
4.
3, 4.
3, 5, 11, and 12. Mr. Wild, did you?
All 4, sorry.
Seconded by Mr. Merlino. Any discussion?
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Actually, I have several. I know we're sticklers to details, so I'm going to jump around. On one of the pages, it talks about if the, how do you pronounce it, Marcelli grant does not come through, Warren County will increase their obligation by 15%. It's not 5%, but 15% up to 20. That's just a typo. I'm looking at all these different pages, and there are a lot of numbers, and they don't line up. And that's what I'm trying to figure out, why they don't line up. In the beginning, the total cost for the design is $69,959. And then a few pages later, we have a number, $66,461. Going back to $69,959, we have a local share of $13,992. Debt with zero to the state. But then under the $66,461, there's a state Marchicelli of $10,494. So maybe that's part of the $13,992, but we're at 66 versus 69,000 doesn't make sense. And then you have there is another part where it talks about the federal amount, $55,967, state Marchicelli, $10,494, and the local share, not sure what the local share is, what that means, $48,500 was approved in 2017. And it seems to be like that $48,000 is in someone's drawer because it doesn't show up in any of the other costs associated with the project. And then while we're on that list, I'm looking at the prevailing wages, and for the first set of prevailing wages, over a 3-year time span, they get a 6.1% raise every year. And then in the second, under Mill Creek, which is going to be later resolutions, the average on some of the paid wages, the average wage is higher than the maximum wage allowed. But that's Mill Creek, so we can get to that later. But I'm just wondering, two things. What are these two numbers? Two totals, $69,959 versus $66,461. And where does that vote of $48,500 that we approved last year fall into this whole thing?
All right, let me try to break these down. The first one, the $69,000 is a grant award from DOT. When we typically receive a grant award from DOT, they attach a Schedule A. And the Schedule A will basically say whether or not we're receiving the Marchicelli money up front. We have been told by the Treasurer's Office that always expect that you're going to receive the Marchicelli money. In all the years that I've been here at the county in the last 10 years, we've never not received the Marchicelli money, but we have to request it, and
Sure.
we typically do. My engineering department does that. So we used to put in for the full 20% as a local match. The Treasurer's Office said no, because you're going to get the money anyways. Please put it in as the 5% local match and the 15% for the Marchicelli. So that's so the grant agreement that I have with DOT right now is for $69,959. The 66, Supervisor Loeb, for and give me a minute to take a look at it real quick. The project total, and this will include eventually down the line the 55 and 10. That gives you the 66. So we had already had Marchicelli money for a local match for this project. It was already appropriated back in 2017 and again, this was for the preservation project, for one project that we expected to receive. We received 2. So we're going to come back, and I'm not doing it during this meeting because we're doing the design on it in-house. The Sunnyside portion of this, some of those local matches are part of that project as well because it was done as one project. Now it's broken down into 2 projects, so the 80% share, as you'll see on that sheet for the increase to capital project, is of course the federal share, which matches the grant agreement from DOT for the $55,000. And the $10,000 would be the 15% Marchicelli money. No local match is needed this time because I do have that local match, which was for the entire preservation project before it was put up in queue, which is the extra $3,000 or whatever it may have been. We already covered with the local match for that one.
So where does the $48,500 come in that we approved?
The $48,500, part of that local match is going to be used for this project, and part of that will be used for the other project as well, which is the other pavement preservation project, which is Sunnyside, which I'm not bringing to this meeting. So that money will be moved at that time for that project as well.
That's all lumped in together for you then?
Yep.
Okay.
If you take 5% of the 69,959 and add it to the 66,461, you'll get 69,959.
Okay. And then, okay, thank you very much for that explanation. What about the prevailing wages, which I presume we're paying for, because we have to pay prevailing wages for these contracts?
This isn't prevailing wage. This is, it's an engineering firm. Prevailing wage is paid on construction, not on design. The increase in rates is typically what the hourly rates would be for the consultants, and this is what they project that their increase in rates are going to be over the next couple of years. They're allowed to do that through these federal aid projects. So we accept the numbers that they have, but it's not a prevailing wage. Prevailing wage is only for your construction projects.
Okay. That's a pretty good pay increase. 6.1% every year. And nothing we can do about that. It's just, we put it out for bid and that's what it is. Okay.
And I'll back you up there a little bit. These aren't projects that are necessary to put out to bid. We put out an RFP for a consultant to submit for design for these projects or construction inspections. There is, similar to what we do at the airport, there is what they refer to as a LDSA list, which is a local design selection of consultants. Typically, in fact, we're going through the process right now. I'm the Region 1 coordinator. We submit out RFPs, or basically RFQs, for all the consultants within our area. They all submit. 15 firms are chosen for that LDSA list. We, as the county, could narrow it down to 5 firms. We never do. Every time that we send out an RFP for a project, we send it out to all 15 firms and wait to see what we get back from them for a proposal. The proposals aren't based on cost. The proposals are based on, it's an engineering. It's not a cost. It's can they do the work? Have they thought outside the box? Can they do it in a shorter time frame? Can they prevent less of an impact to the public during construction? That's the things that we look for when we look at those proposals. Cost is included, but we don't necessarily, cost is the highest rating on there. They're rated by 3 people in my department, typically me, the senior civil engineer, and one of the engineer ones go through all the proposals and rate them, and then we pick a firm to do the projects. So it's not necessarily a bid. They're on this approved LDSA list, and then the feds and the New York State DOT have approved the list as well. And that's how we choose the firms for these projects. And it's similar to what we're going through. We just got in fact, I'm receiving them every day now in the mail, is the new proposals or new RFQs for the new LDSA list, which is for the next 3 years.
And if I apologize for extending this, then could you then elaborate on the costing of how that works in the industry? That they say, okay, here's your $100, and one of the first guy on the list, $100 an hour, or $100, and then in 3 years it's going to be $120, 119 point something, or 121. What is that standard in the industry that we?
It is standard.
And then looking at the whole package and dividing it up.
Yes, the first one that you looked at was a productive principal, and they said the average rate's $100. They say for 2018 it'll be $109, 2019 $112. I guess it's no different than sort of a cost of living increase or whatever for a business. They're going to increase their rates every year. It's typically the multiplier that they put on top of their rates. These rates are approved by DOT, and we accept what DOT has approved.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
All right, the request for 18, 19, and 26.
We haven't voted on that yet, so.
I had to check too. I kind of lost it in the discussion. Okay, are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, the next 3 resolutions are for the South Jomsberg Road, County Route 57 over Mill Creek. That's a jack-art structure, basically a bridge, that the county is going to replace. Based on the ratings through DOT and the last bridge inspection, it's just about a 4. We typically don't like them to go below a 4 into a 3. DOT has approved this as a replacement, and so is the feds, Federal Highway Administration. So this is, the first one be to authorize a new grant with DOT for this project, and I think the only thing that you'll see in the grant for now is not construction. It's for, just for design work from the firm that'll be chosen in here as well. The next one is the establish a capital project, and to put the funds into that capital project, and the last one would be to enter into a new contract with Clark Patterson to do the design of this bridge replacement.
Someone like to move this to the floor for discussion? Supervisor
All three.
Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All 3 resolutions. Any discussion? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next request is to decrease capital project H375 and to reallocate the surplus local match funds to various capital projects. 13th Lake Road culvert, the total cost of that project, this is one of those projects where we put in the 20%, or I'm sorry, the 5% for a local match for this project. But this is one of the Bridge New York projects that I'm going to talk about towards the end. And since those culvert projects are 100% state funded, I can pull back the local match in this project.
Someone like to move this to the floor? Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one is a resolution to increase capital project H322, which is Palisades Road, County Route 26, over Grant Lake Inlet Bridge replacement. We have since had some extra right-of-way costs, and we needed a little more increase for the local match share for this project. So this is to take the money, this is one of the projects that will receive that money from P9950, this is to take that money and put it into this capital project.
Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Hyde. Discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one I have is on page 34, which is the Warren County Bikeway Improvement Grant. We received this grant probably 5 years ago now. It was a Make the Connection grant. There is no extra money in the Make the Connection grant. This was to do work along Route 149. It was to tie in the bike path down to a sidewalk that we discussed with DOT and didn't think it would be an issue, to put a sidewalk up to the shops along 149. Since that time, we had gotten into a couple of right-of-way issues, and that we could not, most of the property owners within that area, Boats by George being one of them, was going to donate the property to us, which is great. The problem being is National Grid needed to move their utilities back. That would not be covered under the grant cost, so we basically are going to give the grant back because the cost to relocate those utilities was upwards of $60,000 to $70,000, which had to come from the county. We decided that we did get the paved path down to 149, and that there's enough of a shoulder there for now to get them up to the shops, up above Boats by George. So we felt that the cost to move those utilities through there at a county cost was too significant, and it wouldn't be covered under DOT.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion? Sure.
National Grid didn't want to help us out on that, huh?
Absolutely not. And then the reason being is there was in that section of Route 149 and 9 there's 3 transformers on one of the utilities pole that had to be used, and then for them to set it back, they would have to get an easement, and then they would have to set a guide pole on the opposite side of the road where they had a couple more transformers. So they said, yeah, we can do it for you. at a significant cost, and the cost breakdown was somewhere in the $50,000 to $60,000 range.
Yeah, I know being on the committee for the new study in that, we are studying, on bringing a trail in once, we get through, and if there's any rearranging that's gonna come, so that's good. All right, thank you.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next one is to increase D-9950, which is a transfer to capital project in accordance with the transfers of the surplus local match out of the various projects that I just discussed.
Someone like to move this? Supervisor Wild, seconded by Supervisor McGowan. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next request on page 36 is to do a friendly condemnation on the Brant Lake Bridge Replacement Project on Palisades Road, County Route 26. And I'll go through the details a little bit. This project has been going on probably for the last 4 years now. We've finally gotten a good design. We went back and forth with property owners along that area. It's right along Brant Lake. Even sliver of properties are worth a lot to the individuals who own them along there. So we tweaked our design. We've made some improvements to lessen the impacts. As of now, there were 4 properties that were affected. 3 of the 4 properties have signed off on right away to the county, and of course we will pay them through it for the federal aid project. The last property it's tax map parcel 3913, adjacent to the bridge, is owned by 4, possibly 5 different people. They were to be reimbursed for their right-of-way somewhere in the amount of $20,200. The county's right-of-way consultant, which is RK Height, has informed that a dispute among the various property owners regarding the ownership shares of said parcel may result in a significant delay. So they're asking us to do a condemnation. The money will be put into a, I want to say trust, it's not the word I want to use.
Escrow?
An escrow. The money will be put into the escrow, but this will allow us to move the project forward so that hopefully we can get to construction in the spring. And then they get through the escrow and the condemnation, they can work out who owns how much of this piece of parcel or property.
Are you moving that, Supervisor Wild? Or McGowan?
Yeah.
Okay, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Discussion.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, this is a taking.
It is a taking, yeah.
So is there any disagreement in terms of the value of the taking?
That's done through the federal aid process, and this is a federal aid project with the 80/50 and 5 funding. We're to follow strict guidelines for appraisals, basically, of property. There's federal guidelines that are out there. The consultants, as well as the county, have to follow those guidelines. They won't sign off on it. So the property's been through the appraisal process. They were, given fair market value. Again, this is, I'm not sure that the acreage is in here, but it's probably less, maybe a quarter of an acre for that parking area along there. And the fair market value that they were given was $20,200.
For waterfront,
Correct.
basically, right?
Mr. McGowan?
Yeah, that was the same question I just wanted to make sure that, it seems to be quite a few parties involved here, so I can understand why they're looking at percentages, but they can't turn around and get any more. That $20,200 is the line.
As well, they can try to receive more. They can say that they don't believe it's fair, but that's through the eminent domain process, which this has all gone through. And they can bring it in front of a judge and seek more. And they may go back and do a different appraisal, but right now this is the most up-to-date and current appraisal that they have, and that's the fair market value that they have right now.
So is this with the dock space on it, or not?
This is the opposite side, I believe, from the dock space,
So
It's on the north side of that.
north side.
the north side.
There's a little parking lot there.
They use that parking lot, or all the family members basically use that parking lot to bring themselves down to the beach.
Supervisor
Mr.
Lowe?
Chairman, this is not for this, I don't think for this project, but a related project, just for information. Several years ago, we had a bridge that we wanted to build, but it was being held up because there was a triangle of state land. Whatever happened to that?
Still in the works. That's Middleton Bridge. And we had to wait through the legislature to pass the land bank last year, which was voted in November of last year. And now we're going through the process for DOT to justify, because it's been at the 10-year point right now, to justify still doing the bridge.
So the bridge has not been built, and where is that located, and what?
Up off of Spoon River Road, just above exit 24, and it goes over to East Room, and that'll bring you up to Riding High Ranch. It's called Middleton Bridge.
So when we finally finish that bridge, that'll be a welcome
Yes.
addition to the neighborhood. But it may take a few more years.
And it may be located approximately 1.5 miles, 2 miles farther up.
Is that because of a different design, or is that planned?
Planned.
That's what we planned to do all along.
Riding High Ranch had actually said that they would donate property for us to put the bridge farther up. We just couldn't get a bridge in that location because, again, it was state forest preserve, or what they consider state forest preserve. Now that DEC has passed legislation to create the land bank, we can use that land bank and then build a bridge up there on state land.
So, pardon the extension of this discussion, but was it Riding High land or state land?
On
Original
one-
was state land.
On one side of it is Riding High
Okay.
of the river, and then on the other side of the river is state forest preserve.
And the state forest preserve is the area in question dealing with the land bank. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Just one more, I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. Kevin, if there's a dispute on the value of this property, and let's say it gets raised to $200,000, who would be responsible for that? It would be the county.
County. But again, this would fall under the federal aid project, and if the appraisal was put to $200,000, then DOT and Federal Highway would come back, and again, it would be an 80-15-5 cost.
Okay.
We would have
Right.
to pay the
Okay.
local share.
Right.
Okay, are we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next three are on page 38, 39, and 37, 38, and 39 are contractual agreements for new contracts with professional surveyor services, structural engineering services, and asbestos and lead consulting services. For the professional surveying, it's DARA Land Surveying out of Lake Luzerne. For the structural engineering services, it's JMT out of Latham, and for the last one, it is Atlantic Testing Laboratories out of
Someone like to bring this to the floor? Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Loeb. Discussion?
Question, we do these contracts and the retainer contracts, so that there, if we need them,
That's correct.
Use the services.
These are term agreements. And if we need them to do some surveying work for us, they'll go out and do some surveying work for us. Structural engineering, JMT, we've used them actually in the past. They've done some structural, they looked at the structural for the Murph building for us at one time.
thank you.
Okay, I'll call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item is to backfill a position of an MEO light due to a resignation. We actually lost one of our MEO lights to DOT because they're basically paying more money.
Moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Supervisor McGowan?
Yeah, just brief, what is an MEO?
Medium equipment operator.
Oh, okay, medium equipment, I don't know all the lingo yet.
Sure, it'll change before you...
Chairman Conover?
Kevin, are you Are you beginning to experience any trouble finding CDL?
We are. I'm not sure that the towns do it. The county requires of our MEO lights, which is not necessarily the lowest level for us. The lowest level would be the laborer. The next step up is the MEO light. We actually require our lights to have a CDL so that when they come in, they can do snowplow training, or basically snow plowing with our tandems. They're not allowed to do OPP, which is one person plowing yet. They have to get trained in the county for that. But we are having a very difficult time finding CDL drivers. They're getting paid more money in other places.
Is this something that maybe we should talk to some of the job training people, maybe the college about? We're having some issues as well finding CDL license folks. Put that out there that we're all competing for within the same market. And I was just wondering if there are opportunities there, maybe some of our young people could be more aware of it, and there might be a fast track to just
We always have a tendency to reach out to BOCES because they have some of those programs and see if there's individuals coming out of there. And again, I'm not necessarily knocking the county. It's just they're finding other places. They go to work for a contractor, they can make much more money driving with their CDL than they can here at the county. And if there's those opportunities available, that's where they go first.
Okay. Any further discussion? Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next item is to backfill the position of the Highway Construction Supervisor 1. This is a backfill due to promotion. Last month I brought the Highway Construction Supervisor 2. We have now filled that position, and it was filled with a Highway Construction Supervisor 1, so now we have the open position for the Highway Construction Supervisor 1.
Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Wild. Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next resolution is transfer of funds. These transfer of funds is basically these funds aren't within the road projects that I have every year. This is just to reconcile all those projects to put the salaries and the equipment, salaries and the benefits for those projects.
Someone like to move that? Supervisor McGowan, seconded by Supervisor Merlino. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Next one is on page 44. This is a transfer of funds. This is to transfer money into the town paving projects for overtime. We don't have overtime in those projects, so this is just to put overtime in there. And you can see it's not significant. I believe it's $51.
Supervisor Frazier, seconded by Supervisor Wild. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The next item is on page 45, and this is to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Lake George for the purchase of a live edge plow. Based on the SALT initiative this year, there was a grant given to the Village of Lake George for $200,000. There was a local match associated with that grant. This grant was for all the towns within the basins to be able to buy live edge plows. I believe the town of Lake George is getting one. The Village of Lake George is getting one. I believe Hague and Bolton are also receiving them as well. Chairman Conover had asked me, as well as Chairman Simpson here, had asked me to participate in a salt discussion and a reduction of salt by the county. And during that discussion, Chris Nowitzki from the Water Fund said that we, the county, could get one of these live edge plows as well to be used on our routes within the basin. We would have to come up with a local match to the grant, which we would pay to the Village of Lake George. So once we create this intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Lake George and pay them the $5,000, we will also receive a live edge plow, which the typical cost of these live edge plows are about $22,000 to $23,000. With this and the use of brine, we're hoping to reduce our salt on the roads within the Lake George Basin. And if it seems to work, we would eventually in the future like to reduce salt on all of our roads within the county.
Would you like to also, number 46?
Yeah, we could do 46 at the same time. 46 is I've got to be able to transfer money into the road machinery, automotive equipment. So I have $5,000 in auto supplies and repair that I can transfer in there so I can pay the village.
Moved by Supervisor Loeb, seconded by Supervisor Frazier. Any discussion? Supervisor
Yes,
Loeb.
we've explained this already, but if you could again, a plow, you've got a surface, you've got a plow with an edge, you put it down on and it plows the road.
Live edge plow is a little bit different. I wish I could bring up a video for you. But the live edge plow is, there's 18 inches on these plows that move. Every 18 inches on that plow moves. So if there's a depression here, and there's not, with the first 18 inches, that plow blade will actually, that 18 inches will go down into that depression and remove snow, and come back up again. So basically, with any imperfections in the road, it'll remove the snow of those imperfections. And most of those, like wheel path rutting that is along most roads, this actually gets down in that wheel path as opposed to leaving that snow on the ground. But the whole blade is every 18 inches. They're 12, anywhere from 12 to 15 feet, and every 18 inches is another, basically a separate plow by itself.
Cool.
Supervisor McGowan.
That actually works also nice for wearing. And now you're not replacing the whole blade. You can do sections, you know, so I like that. One of the things, I know Gene has brought it up a few times, but, you know, along with that, the grant, there's no, I mean, all his contributaries of, you know, we got the Hudson River and, you know, all the water that comes down and heads toward the lake. Why, there's no way of able to squeak anything in from that grant with him, eh?
I think Chris Nowitzki right now is actually trying to work with Gene. We, the county, have in the 2019 budget added another $2,000 for all the towns that are outside the Lake Basin. So typically, they receive $8,000 a year to do some type of salt reduction or for their snow plowing equipment. This year, all the towns outside the basin will receive another $2,000, so they'll get $10,000. But I think it's the goal of the environmental groups to, as I said earlier, maybe the county will get there someday to reduce salt throughout all county roads, not just within the basin or town roads, but it's going to take a little time for them to. Right now, this grant is just for the roads that are inside the basin.
Gotcha.
I don't like Luzerne's inside the basin, but not all the way.
There's a sliver.
Good enough for me.
No, they're working it out, and I think it's gonna cost us $16,500, so, yeah. The money we get from the county, we're gonna throw in the
Okay, we ready for the question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
The last item I have on there is we had finally received from DOT the extreme winter recovery money as part of the CHIPS money. Typically, every year they have given us CHIPS, Pave New York, and extreme winter recovery. Extreme winter recovery funds are up in the air every year. I go to a legislative day down at the legislative office building in March, and they said back in March that we would not be receiving the extreme winter recovery this year, but the governor did come through in the budget, and we're getting the extreme winter recovery money. So one of the projects that we didn't get to this year was 13th Lake Road. 13th Lake Road, if most of you are unfamiliar, is up in North River above North Creek. If you've been on the road before, it has gabion baskets probably for 3 miles. Gabion baskets are basically holding back an embankment. That area, we received nothing but issues through that area over the years. Gabion baskets failing, the culverts along that area washed out. We actually had a mudslide back in 2012 that took out a large portion of the road. So when we looked at doing the work up there this past year, we thought we could get away with, last year, we thought we could get away with just doing sort of a mill and fill on the road, which is basically grinding up the existing pavement, removing it, and then putting down new pavement. But after After looking after last winter and this spring, it needs a significant amount more of work, replacing probably 18 culverts along that area, and it's going to take more than a mill and fill. It's actually going to be a reclamation. So this extreme winter recovery money we actually want to put into that project.
Okay, Supervisor McGowan. Ready?
Are we moving it?
Yes. Second.
I'll bring it in.
Supervisor Frazier. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
There are no referral or pending items for this month. As I talked about in the board meeting the other day, and I'll get a little bit more detail here. The information for discussion review, we had bridge unit projects awarded. The county was awarded, the county had submitted for 2 bridges and 4 culverts, as I said the other day in the boardroom. We had submitted for Bay Road over Halfway Creek, as well as Hudson Street in the town of Jomsberg over Mill Creek for our 2 bridges. We are awarded the Bay Road bridge for $2.9 million. We submitted for 4 culverts as part of that bridge New York program. That was Call Street in between Queensbury and Lake Luzerne, 13th Lake Road for a culvert up there by Barton Mines, Horican Avenue in the town of Bolton, and then Ernest Smith Road over Millbrook. We have a culvert up there. Of those 4, they awarded 3 of them to us. They awarded the Call Street, the 13th Lake, and the Horican Avenue. Call Street culvert was $974,000 awarded. The 13th Lake Road culvert was $814,000, and the Horican Avenue culvert was $779,000. I don't have the agreements through DOT yet. They just made the announcements. But those 3, the culverts, are all 100% funded by the state, and the bridge for Bay Road will be an 80-15 project.
Supervisor Loeb.
What's the technical aspect that allowed you to put a culvert in versus a bridge?
Size, water flow. Over the past couple of years, we've seen an increasing amount of more, say, the 500-year storm. Most culverts are designed for a 50-year storm. Over the past couple of years, we've seen a lot more of the 100-year storm or 500-year storm, which is significant more volume of water, and that's where we've had a couple of washouts on those roads. So as we're going through now, we're asking consultants to look at those and make sure that they're designed for a higher year storm than they were ever in the past.
And we're using the squash culverts?
Some areas, yes. The one that we'll be doing on Hall Street, actually, if most of you are familiar with Hall Street, it's a road that runs between Queensbury and Lake Luzerne. It's hilly. There's one portion of it which we call the Big Dip, which has a culvert that's probably about 25-30 feet down. That's the culvert that we're doing this repair on. There will be no disturbance to paving whatsoever. We're actually going to jack a pipe underneath Hall Street, so anybody up top will never know that this is happening. And the current pipe that's there is a 5-foot pipe, and we will be jacking a 6-foot pipe around that one, and they'll remove the old pipe out.
Supervisor Conover.
Yeah, these moments tend to be passed over quickly, but I just want to take, once again, Kevin, just to you and your department, for taking the initiative for getting those applications prepared, and getting them well prepared. It's a very competitive program. As you know, they're reviewed by all the different regions around. In fact, I think they swap the application. We do region to region, so they have different regions reviewing applications from other regions. Try to keep it a sincere evaluation, and that $5+ million that you and your department have secured is $5 million that we otherwise would have had to pay for out of our fund balances. So, kudos to you and everyone.
And also, he worked with Horican's highway superintendent on a situation on one of the projects that didn't get funded. It's on a town road, but it's you're asking about culverts. But there's 2 existing culverts that are 12-foot. They're 12-foot side by side, and then the county structure is within eye. You can see it right up the road. Same upstream, only that's county-owned. We can't replace those with light culverts. We can't replace them with any culverts, other than a bottomless culvert system, which is three-sided box cover, which is much more expensive. You know, we could have done that for about $70,000. We're looking, with our own manpower, we're looking at probably somewhere between $700,000 and $1 million on the same structure. And right now, we bought a $90,000 temporary bridge to put there. And unfortunately, we weren't funded. But what was great is that we had the expertise of the county, of Superintendent Hajos, working with our highway superintendent to get through that process for the funding. So, thank you.
I wish we could have gotten the funding for it, because we also worked with, Lake Luzerne had a culvert in as well, and they didn't get theirs either. And Chairman Conover, the town of Bolton had two bridges in too as well, and they didn't get theirs either.
Covered was bare, Gene, by the time we got there.
Story of my life.
So basically what we're saying is Kevin did a good job. He got the money for the county.
Great.
And just one more comment before Kevin. Thanks for a great job on Call Street. The snowstorm.
Thank you.
We had a lot of calls and it was taken care of right away.
And the last item I have, I actually think Julie is here.
Unfortunately,
I'm going to turn this one over to Julie.
Well, I apologize for not bringing the fact sheet that was in the more information, but I think I remember the numbers off the top of my head. Last month we came and talked about where we were at with the solid waste recycling facility and transportation. The extension letters have been sent out for the solid waste disposal. What we had to rebid the recycling portion. We opened those bids, and the rebates for paper, we're still getting a rebate, but the amounts are going down, the dollar figures, and the remaining recyclables are going up substantially. The other piece of it is that we have the transportation bids out now. One of the vendors that was accepting recyclables in Fort Ann has changed their location to a site in Albany, and Hiram Hollow was the other one still in Jomsberg, but their price went from $65 per ton, depending on the recyclable, to $162. So there's going to be, I'm going to do the best I can as far as the evaluation. I'm working on an addendum right now to make it a more, I guess, accurate award, because every recyclable weight is different. It has a different weight depending on the container size. So your plastic don't weigh as much as your other paper does. And that's all going to be based on the EPA standard that I found on Friday. So that's where we're at. We're opening the transportation on December 6th. I just want you to be shocked when we come back.
Supervisor Wild?
Mr. Chairman, thanks. Julie, the recyclable is $160 a ton. What do we pay for just regular trash?
It's been, well, it's going from 65 to 66.
So it's costing
But
us
that's
3
going up
times as much.
$1. That's going to go up $1 per ton for 2020.
So it's costing us 3 times as much for the recycling. Doesn't make sense.
Chairman Conover?
Nobody wants it.
Give us some idea. Let's just take metals, for example, from just approximately where we were with metals on the plus side and where we are now. That was
Tin
one.
or bulk. Bulk metal we don't handle, we only do the tin. So that would be going for, well, depending on how the transportation plays out, we were going from 54 days to 10, now we'll be going to 2. Or it could be $70 per ton if the other vendor wins in transporting to Albany, but it depends on the transportation cost. There's a formula that we use to do the award.
Supervisor Loeb?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carrying on the question that Supervisor Wild asked was my question, how much we're paying. So we pay less for just if we throw everything into one dumpster and take it to the burn plant, we're paying X amount. If we separate it, we pay 3 times X. You've got glass, you've got plastic 1 and 2, you've got corrugated cardboard, you've got mixed paper, junk mail,
That will still get a rebate on.
and metal. So the mixed paper junk mail, we get a rebate on. Corrugated, we get a rebate on. Right, okay, so those two, that's good. Glass, brown or clear, where does that end up?
We do not recycle glass. That actually goes to the 26th
Yeah, so
all we pay on that is the transportation.
So I'd be better off just throwing that in my waste container.
Well, no, they still separate it at the transfer station, but that whole bin is transferred to Tony Pitt with no other garbage in it. It's just that.
But that's just, for what? For storage for future years, or?
No, it gets crushed.
Because crushed, okay, so it's basically, it takes me work and thousands of, hundreds of other people to separate that glass out and take it to the county, for the county to spend 3 times the amount to dispose of it, when I could just put it in with my M&M garbage.
Well, we don't pay a disposal fee on that, so you're not going to be paying the $162 per ton. Only the transport from, say, Holden to
Right, someday that can be mined and used. All right, how about the metal? Mixed metal and sorted metal. Mixed metal would be if I have a metal chair with aluminum piping, or
that would probably be considered CMD, and that goes to the burn plant.
but we have a whole trailer, a dumpster.
Right,
I
but
take all
that-
my mixed metal, I've been
that's
saving
gonna
it, and I said, this is great, I'm going to bring a bucket of nuts and bolts and everything. Am I wasting my time?
I don't know. We're waiting for DEP to tell us more.
Yeah.
Basically, I won't be able to answer that until I know where it comes down on it.
And the plastic is, where's that go to nowadays?
Where does it go currently? It goes to Harbor Powell currently, and it may still. But I have to wait to see what the current.
But did they actually, is there a market for that, or does that then go to the burn plant?
No, there's no market for that, or there must be a market for paper still, because we are still getting rebate, but that's not.
So any piece of plastic I put in is actually costing me more money, because the county has to pay for that, and it's not helping the
Well, the
environment.
town would have to pay for it, not the county.
Okay. So right now, I'm better off, well, we do have one report, I'm better off disposing my plastic in the garbage. And then,
I'm not gonna.
no, I mean, this is a good discussion.
Basically, answer your question, yes.
I could change in a dime.
No,
But you
Maybe
don't
other
want to
people
do it.
can't.
Don't
But
be
why not?
short-sighted about that, right? We're just talking more about the economics.
I'm talking about for the next 6 months, if I can save somebody 50 cents. Right now, there is no market, that stuff gets burnt. The glass, we pay for transportation, that can be mined 20 years from now. The metal, you're not sure about.
Supervisor Wild.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. I request to ask our administrator if there's been any news about our solid waste disposal permit and
Our solid waste management plan?
management plan. Thank you.
No news, and Kevin and I have yet to sit down on that.
Or maybe you could do it Thursday.
So this, I don't believe the discussion necessarily belongs here. It's more of a legislative and rules kind of deal, or the environment kind of deal. We need to get our arms around this recycling issue that is, I think we're just sticking our head in the ground like an ostrich, right? Just that. I'm not going to look at this anymore in terms of being an issue. It is an issue. It's a big issue, and I really think we need to figure this out. And like Supervisor Loeb said, yeah, true. We're spending all this effort to recycling, and it's costing us more money than you just burn it. But, that's, in my mind, short-sighted. Right? We need to look at the bigger picture and try to figure out what to do. And maybe it's making sure that the guys that are collecting garbage and not recycling and charging people $67 a ton prices versus those of us that do recycle, we get charged that blended rate, and it's costing us more for our trash removal, trash and recyclable removal. That we need to do some legislation to make sure that everybody's picking up recycling, and at the same time, everybody's aware that this is the recycling that's important. Right? This is where we need to recycle and separate things, and like we used to. We used to have different bins for plastic and paper and
Still do.
glass. Well, I got one. I just throw it in all together, which is a problem in itself. But I believe we need to take some action here. I'm not sure what it is, but I've got a passion.
You'll let us know. Chairman Conover?
Actually, what were we looking at if we have to haul to Albany? You have the tonnage on the garbage, but then you have the hauling price because you're hauling from different places, right?
Correct.
So, if we can no longer haul locally and go to Albany, did you get a sense of what that differential was?
I won't know that until December 6th.
December
That's our
6th.
opening date.
Okay. So you don't have a sense at this stage, but I believe it's more.
I think it's going to be substantially more, which is why I have to
Last
get
year it
to
almost
the...
doubled.
See what I'm saying?
That's what killed it.
Guys,
Oh.
ladies, the hauling side of this is a big item as well. That the way they bid this, they bid it so much ton per ton or container. Then there's the hauling cost of what it's going to cost to haul from Luzerne to wherever they're going, or haul from Bolton to wherever they're going. That gets added to it.
That went up, that was like almost $69 a whole, $79 last year. Now
You
it's,
guys got hit bad.
and now it's $259 the whole thing. So it's not what's in it, it's just hauling.
Well, that goes back to the issue of the glass. You say, well, all we're doing is paying for hauling, but you're saying that that's a significant cost.
And the other thing to consider is, there's the idea of throwing the recyclables in the trash, but then you're going to be increasing the hauling cost, which is going to offset any savings on the disposal fees anyway. So I don't know that there's a win-win, situation right now. And I heard through one of the vendors that, DEC is trying to also create a market because there's no foreign market for these materials. They're trying to create a market within the United States. I don't know if this is one of them, but that's something they're looking at. So we might be hit for a couple of years, and if they can develop that, then we'll be able to go the other way.
Okay. Anything further from the committee? Superintendent Hajos?
I just wanted to address real quick to Supervisor Loeb. The glass that does get taken to the Tony Pit, which is the county's Tony Pit up in Warren County, we do use that material. If you want to say we recycle it, we've used it for base under a couple of our parking lots. And when we find another location for it, when it builds up, we typically will take it out there and use that, and then we'll pave over the top of it. So it acts as a good sub-base.
Well, that's good.
Okay, anything further? Motion to adjourn? We're adjourned.
Thank you very much.